I fell in love with a sport in the 1970s that is no longer played. And when Dick Butkus died a couple of weeks ago and we talked about it and we run all that old footage, like, you don't even recognize it. Like, when my son Stevie sees, like, some of the hits that were routinely taking place in games in the 70s and 80s, he can't believe it. He's like, Dad, that was allowed? Like, yes, that was allowed. I mean, it was the level of violence that existed in the sport, and I do believe that contributed greatly to the growth and popularity of the sport. That certainly has been legislated out, I think for great reasons, because it is an inherently violent and dangerous game, but they have done everything they can, I believe correctly, to make it as little danger as it can be. I'm not sure what the phraseology of that is that I'm looking for, to mitigate as much of the actual real danger as they possibly can, while balancing that fine line between not taking out the sort of gladiator element of it. So it does bring up the question, in the world in which we live today, is the sport actually better than it was then? Look at the things that we have going in the game today. You know what wouldn't have been as interesting then? Fantasy football. We didn't have nearly the same level of offensive numbers, nearly the same firepower. Look at the people who are fans of this sport now. It's not the traditional sports fans that we had in the past. Is the game a more attractive product to a larger number of people today than the game I fell in love with in the 70s was?
Yes, it is. I think what Tom Brady is saying, I think he's candidly echoing the sentiments of a lot of people. But I think what Tom Brady is saying is in some sense a reflection of his age. Now that he's not playing anymore, too, I think he probably notices when he's watching these games on TV that this doesn't look exactly like I would prefer. But there's also an element, Greeny, where anything that you loved or that you loved, you always remember it more fondly, perhaps, than it actually was. There's just, I think, a sense to always assume things used to be better. When I don't think
but this doesn't apply to that. No, I know what you mean, because it is so different. Like, you can genuinely, it's one thing for me to say, I thought this player was better than this player, right. Oscar Robertson was better than him. But this is literally like, I'm going to give you an analogy. Because I lived in Chicago and New York all my life, people ask me all the time, well, which do you like better, New York pizza or Chicago pizza? And I always say, that's not a reasonable comparison. They aren't the same thing. The fact that they are both made of dough, tomato sauce, and cheese does not mean they're the same thing. They're not attempting to accomplish the same goals. And anyone who's ever had both of them, I think, knows what I'm talking about. Pro football was so violent. You've seen the video, but you're not old enough to have seen it. I mean, Jack Tatum would have been thrown out of the league in 10 minutes. I think he's in the Hall of Fame.
He is.
Yeah. He's one of the greatest players ever. Dick Butkus wouldn't have even gotten to the stadium. I don't know that Lawrence Taylor could have played in today's game. It is genuinely a different product. So I don't know that it is as much, well, everything was better back then. They really have changed it. And I don't disagree. Well, I certainly accept the fact that some people can say, I liked that better. I don't think that necessarily follows that it would have become as popular as it has if they hadn't made the changes. The league has been built on the stardom, the star power of its superstars. And thus, the basketball superstar receives more than any of the other athletes in our society. The baseball players may, in some cases, make as much money. But generally speaking, there are no stars like basketball stars in this country, because the genius of David Stern realized we've got a very individualized sport. We got the crowd very close to the court. We got no helmet. We got no pads. We got no nothing. We can see these guys' faces. They're very attractive and appealing and charismatic, and I can build something out of these people. And so he rode Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, and others to a place where they took the NBA to a level of popularity that it had never been before and probably should never have been expected to reach. And one of the things all those guys had in common, Magic, Larry, Michael, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, the list goes on and on. I would put LeBron James in this category too, is that while they wanted to be individually great, while they wanted their own teams to win, while they wanted to build their brands and their reputation and their fame and their stardom and their money and all that, all of which is great, they also had one other interest, one thing that was important to them, and that is leaving the league in a better place than they found it. Maybe because all of them were old enough to remember a time when it wasn't that. Remember, Kobe Bryant's dad played in the league. Kobe Bryant knew what the league was in the 70s. Basketball was in trouble in the 70s. The NBA Finals were on tape delay into the 80s. Now it is this mega, huge international thing. And you can't be taking that for granted. And no one takes it for granted more than James Harden. He believes the entire league owes him whatever he wants because he's so talented. But the truth is, the story of his career has always been when it mattered most, he doesn't come up big. And the moment things turn a direction he doesn't like, he just wants out. He ate himself out of Houston the first time. He got himself out of out of Brooklyn. He got himself, and now he's trying to get himself out of Philly. And he's so offended that they haven't traded him for who would want him? Why on earth do you want, if you're the Clippers, what do you want with him? Just because he wants to be there? So I find this extremely frustrating. And whatever it is that Daryl Morey said to him, look, if they had some kind of promise that is now not being kept, I understand Harden being hurt by that or being angry or whatever the case may be. But is there no professionalism involved in this at all? Does the league not matter to you beyond yourself at all? Bubba, I think we should send Cam for $13 to Arizona.
Is that all I'm worth to you?
To go see the Phillies play. Well, what do you think of this idea, Bubba? I think it's a pretty good idea.
I mean, look, I'm someone who enjoys a free trip. I'd like to know what are Cam's plans this weekend?
Okay, fair enough.
What is Cam doing this weekend? I'd like to know. Let's get it out on the table. Let's see what he's got planned.
I got people to see, places to be, normal weekend
Extremely
stuff.
vague and
You're
ambiguous.
just making that up.
Yeah.
You have nowhere to go and no one to see.
I have a gathering on Saturday night to go to.
Kind of gathering. What does that even mean?
People are celebrating their birth at a bar, and I'll be there to have drinks.
What people are
People
celebrating?
that work here.
Who?
Eric. He's actually right over there.
You're just making that up.
No,
you're just inventing a
I am
human
not.
being who
It is
doesn't
his,
exist.
It is his birthday today. He is celebrating this
How
weekend.
old is he?
He's 29. We're having some drinks
Why
at
the
bar.
hell are
God.
you going
Bunch
to
of
a
people.
29-year-old man's birthday?
Here we go again.
Greeny is offering you a vacation to Arizona for the weekend, and you're going to celebrate Eric's 29th birthday at a bar in Connecticut?
I might not even see the Phillies. They might sweep in Thursday and Friday. I'll go to Arizona for no reason on Saturday and then fly back and having done nothing on my trip.
Here I am offering to spend
Oh my
$13
God.
of my hard-earned money to send you to a baseball game, and you're making up a friend named Eric having a birthday that you're going to go sit at. First of all, under no circumstances should you be celebrating a 29-year-old man's birthday. What are we even doing
It's
here?
more so just to gather some, coworkers together to have a drink. It happens to be his birthday this week, so that's what it's in commemoration of. But we go out every now and then anyway.
That's the most ridiculous
This is a
idea.
terrible excuse. Honestly, I
completely-
rescind the
This
offer.
decision-
I regret the idea.
Good. This decision was made for me without asking if I would want to go to the Diamondbacks playoff game with the Phillies when I would obviously rather go to the home ballpark. Yes, I understand it's much more expensive, but the reason the Phillies are so exciting right now is Citizens Bank Park, not Chase Field in Arizona.
Under no circumstances
Gosh.
did I think that we were foisting something upon you that you would consider to be some great weight that we're placing on your shoulders. I'm offering to send you to a baseball game to watch your favorite team probably clinch the league championship series, and you're making it seem like I'm doing something terrible here, and you would rather spend a 29th birthday with Eric.
What a brat.
Who doesn't even exist.
I'll probably spend more at that bar than I would at the Diamondbacks game for the ticket.
I'm telling you right now, there is no person named Eric sitting in that place.
No.
I need to see him.
By the way,
Bring Eric in.
If you're older, once you turn 21, you're not allowed to celebrate a birthday until you're 30. Or at least until you're 25.
Yeah, and if you're doing it, you should do it in very low-key fashion. Just do it surrounded solely by people you know. That's
And definitely don't have a birthday dinner during a playoff game.
It's a whole
NFL
other thing.
playoff
That
game.
too.
yeah, Eric. Is that a person sitting
It's
next
some-
to you?
I've never seen this guy in my life. I don't know who this guy is.
I don't know how he got in here. Eric is in the room.
He looks like Liam, kind
It's his birthday today, so be
Bubba,
nice.
do you honestly not know who that is?
I've never seen this person before in my life.
Eric, who are you?
See, he doesn't
See, I
even
don't even
know.
know how to turn my mic on.
You don't know how to turn the mic on. Eric.
I am the associate producer for Carlin versus Joe on ESPN Radio coming up next.
So you
Okay.
got a little plug in there.
Okay, no, that's very
Happy
well
birthday.
done. That's a good happy birthday, Eric.
They
you very much.
don't mean that, Eric. Trust me.
We do mean
They
it.
don't think you're real.
Where are you guys going to celebrate your birthday? What night is it that you're doing this?
It's Saturday night. Chicago Sam's going to be in Cromwell, Connecticut.
So
Chicago Sam's.
Chicago Sam's. So
I've been there.
You've been to Chicago Sam's?
Yeah, it's a freaking dump.
I've never heard of that place, but one way or another. So you're telling me that you decided to have a birthday party on a Saturday night at a place called Chicago Sam's?
Correct.
During like college football and playoff baseball and everything else.
They'll have the games on
It's
there.
a sports bar. There's tons of TVs there, so we'll be watching.
So Hembo, maybe you should go to that and watch the game and cheer on the Phillies at
Eric,
Chicago Sam's.
If Cam does not make it and instead he is in Arizona watching the Phillies play, is that an excused absence for this otherwise can't miss event?
Look, Cam, I might side with Greeny and Hembo here. I've been to Chase Field at the World Baseball Classic in March earlier this year.
True. He was there. Yeah,
it's a great venue, and
It was
it's your
probably
team,
louder than
and
Philly
it's
then.
being comped for you.
I like
so-
Eric.
Sounds
I
like
like
he
Eric.
doesn't
Me
want
too.
me to be at his birthday party.
Here's what I'm going to say. I'm canceling my weekend plans, and I'm going to Chicago Sam's to celebrate Eric's birthday.